Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me this morning. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter number 23, and we are going to look at verse number 4. Psalm 23, 4. The Bible says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." This verse, obviously a very, very famous chapter, and particularly a very famous verse. I'm sure you've heard this verse before, but nevertheless, it has an amazingly powerful meaning. David here is talking about, the Lord being his shepherd, and David being, the Lord's sheep, and following the Lord wherever he directs and depending on the Lord for protection. It's amazing to me that David likens himself to a sheep, because a sheep is a pretty helpless animal. Sheep don't really have any defense, right? At least a goat has horns. Even pigs, you let them out in the wild, they'll grow tusks, right? And they can actually be pretty dangerous. But a sheep has no defense, absolutely none. It is basically just a meatball with wool, there is absolutely no danger in a sheep, and so sheep heavily rely on the shepherd to be protected, to stay alive. And for someone like David to compare himself to that is pretty amazing, because David is a mighty warrior, right? He killed a lion with his bare hands. He killed a bear with his bare hands, and he killed Goliath with one smooth stone. This guy was a warrior. Not to mention all the wars and battles that he went out with. They even made a song about him, right? Saul killed his thousands, and David killed his 10,000s, right? The song that made King Saul jealous. David was a mighty warrior, and yet here he is, saying, "Lord, I'm just a sheep. You are my shepherd. I depend on you." And this particular verse here, I think so many of us can relate to this, right? "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." That sounds like a pretty dark time, right, in David's life. The valley of the shadow of death. How many of us have had to walk through the valley of the shadow of death? I know I have, right? Where you think, man, I don't know what I'm going to do next. This, it just, your mind begins to race, right? And you start thinking dark things, right? The valley of the shadow of death, where you don't know if there's even going to be a tomorrow. It says, "I will fear no evil." It's pretty amazing. Even while walking through the valley of the shadow of death, David says, "I will fear no evil." Why? Talking to the Lord now. "For thou art with me." That's the reason why. That's the reason why I won't be afraid. If I was alone, I'd be terrified. But I fear no evil, because I know that thou art with me, Lord. "And thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." What does a shepherd use that staff, that rod for, right? What does he use that for? Well, two things. One, to direct the sheep, right? Come on, let's go. But two, it's also for defense, right? If a wolf comes, tries to snatch a sheep, shepherds don't carry swords, okay? They use the staff. They will whack that wolf until he runs away and leaves their sheep alone. It is a defense weapon as well. And David knows that the Lord doesn't need a sword. That staff is enough to comfort David, to know that the Lord is there and he will protect me with his staff, because he is my shepherd. And let me tell you, we can have the same confidence that David has in Psalms 23. If you are going through the valley of the shadow of death right now, and you are going through a difficult time, run to the Lord. Make him your shepherd, and take comfort in the protection of the Lord. I'm going to stop right there. Thank you so much for joining me. I am looking forward to seeing you in church today and having the potluck afterward in celebration of our 6th year anniversary of Gospel Light Baptist Church. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.